Sanibonani babukeli, and welcome to this week's exciting edition of your favorite program, Ilungelo Lakho, It's Your Right. We're coming to you live via Kumamba Phambili SABC 1 eMzansi for sure. Uyazi ke uMangcolosi uMajali usefikile mbukeli, sithi namhlanje sibheka le ndaba phela yokuthi youth unemployment still remains the biggest challenge here in the country. At least just over 4 young people in South Africa are jobless, and that is actually quite shocking. But the Sectorial Education as well as Training Authority, SETA, is trying to make a difference by preparing our youth for economic participation. Kodwa ke ingabe kahle kahle zidlala yipi indima lezi SETA ekutheni ziqeqeshe intsha ekutheni phela ithola amathuba angcono omsebenzi? Ake sizokuqala ukuthi intsha niyayazi ukuthi yini le SETA nokuthi futhi nicabangani ngayo.
Angikho sure ngecollege iTVET kodwa ngiyazi ukuthi agriculture and engineering kodwa ngakhona ukuyenza eTVET.
I'm in grade 12 and after university I want to study dermatology. I know of TVET colleges that are available for learners that are not accepted into universities.
What you can do is apply for stuff overseas. See what type of universities are accepting overseas so that you can be accepted into those ones if you can't find space here.
Once I enroll into a university and I don't get accepted, because we are taught in school that we should be open to other opportunities.
If you don't make it into university, it's really not a train smash, because there are colleges that look at more practical work, and there are many other university students that are really good when it comes to handwork if they don't really know, because school's not for everyone at the end of the day. So I think practical work as well for other students who are good at doing things with their hands and stuff like that. There are opportunities like that out there.
I want to do software engineering when I'm done with matric, but then if it happens I don't get into university, I'll surely get some certificates. You can do that online and learn how to code and program.
Government is not educating us enough on other opportunities except for universities. I feel like they should come and teach us more about it and not only focus on universities.
There's 21 sectors that I don't know about. And another opportunity that I can take if I do not make it to university, it can be TVET college.
I just found out about learnerships and sectors right now, but then I'm looking forward to learn. And what I would do if I didn't get into a university is that I would take an online course and get an occupation for the meanwhile, because I can't sit at home.
Very concerning and interesting views indeed kubantu bethu abasha. Mbukeli ukhuluma kabanzi ke ngodaba lethu namhlanje. Let's welcome our guest today. We do have uSisikhathaza Khosa ehamba no Mr. PK Naika bobabili ke bakhulumela Sectorial Education and Training Authority, or SETA. Mesithi SETA, it's that SETA. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Welcome, welcome. Mr. Naika, let's start with you. I mean, looking at the inserts, I also had an opportunity to just have a chat with you when before we started the show. And what did I say to you? A lot of young people whom these SETAs are actually designed to work for don't even know what these SETAs are. So maybe comment on the insert and then maybe just go into your role in the fiber processing as well as manufacturing sector.
Very good afternoon to you, Alicia, and good afternoon to the viewers. More especially our learners and our parents. Yeah, some very interesting views, and one interesting view was when one of the learners said that she doesn't know anything about SETAs or don't know much about SETAs. That would be like a very common view, unfortunately. But when we look at SETAs, okay, SETAs is an abbreviation, it's an acronym. It stands for Sector Education and Training Authorities. And I think the word sector is very, very important because they are aligned to industrial subsectors. So SETAs were established in terms of the Skills Development Act of 1998. We've got 21 SETAs, and in terms of the scope, all of them are aligned to the various industrial subsectors in South Africa. So what SETAs do is that they implement what is known as the National Skills Development Plan. Okay, and in terms of that, it has 8 specific outcomes. Okay, in terms of which we align our strategic plan and our annual performance plan to, and where we have targets as well. But we also align ourselves to the various government priorities and government policies, such as the National Development Plan, okay, the Vision 2030, and we also align ourselves to what is known as, in this day and age, the MTDP, right, the Medium-Term Development Plan. Just to expand on the role of SETA so that everybody have an understanding of our mandate and the type of work we do, okay? So we implement skills development interventions, okay, in our industrial subsectors. So those interventions would include training programs like your trades, which would be your apprenticeships, your learnerships. A learnership is an occupationally directed program, so is a trade. Okay, and then we would also have skills programs, which would be your shortened programs. We also have work integrated learning programs, work experience and internships, and we also offer bursaries as well.
All right. I want to hear from Khathaza, Mr. Naika. Khathaza, maybe just also just to add to that. So where would a student, a parent that is interested in getting to learn more about, you know, where do they actually go and look for opportunities within SETA? Where do they even start?
Fantastic question. I think that our organization is really geared towards the youth and young people, and so we've made it quite easy for them to contact us. We have quite a strong presence on social media, so you can find us on social media platforms, your Facebook, your Instagrams and your Twitters as well. We do have a website that is also quite interactive and allows them to really engage with us and ask the pertinent questions that they need to ask. So one of those websites would be the FPNM SETA's website, which is www.fpmseta.org.za.
And when do you normally advertise available positions or opportunities within some of your industries?
So we have an amazing platform. We have the Career Portal, which is an initiative that we took to really answer that question.
How accessible is it to everybody, the
everyday person,
the parents as well as the students?
Yeah, quite accessible because it's just on our website. So you'd be able to go onto our website, go to the Career Portal and see all the opportunities that are available to you. We have various workshops as well where we're able to explain what we do, how we do it and how it would benefit our stakeholders. So our Career Portal is amazing for that. It really has been quite beneficial to our young people.
Absolutely, and it's quite user-friendly. I actually went and checked on the transport SETA. No, now there's TETA, there's also a TETA. So, Mr. Naika, I mean, talk to us about, is there any correlation between, of course, the SETAs as well as the higher education department? Is there a direct link so that we're not confusing our viewers?
No, clearly there's a direct link. The Department of Higher Education and Training is the executive authority.
So you are an affiliate in essence?
Yes, absolutely. We're a social partner to the Department of Higher Education, and we directly link in terms of the mandate, you know, the department's mandate through an SLA, which is a service level agreement.
And talk to us about your collaboration in terms of coming up with the projects that then you will feel that need to be given to the youth.
No, absolutely. So in terms of our collaboration, what we do is that we have various strategic partners in terms of the Department of Higher Education itself. Like, for example, we will partner on various interventions, even with the Department of Higher Education, the TFED colleges, okay, your technical vocational education training colleges, your CETs, your community education training colleges. We'll also partner in terms of the higher education institutions institutions like your universities and your universities of technology. So we do have strategic partnerships with regard to the various interventions that we would implement in terms of skills development and skills development interventions.
Now, Khataza, I want us to talk about this. I mean, I'm sure when you heard me start the show, I made very shocking revelations there. About 4 in about 10 young people in the country are actually unemployed. This amounts to about 3.3 million from 15 to 24 years of age. But then put in the graduates in there, the factor of unemployed graduates in there, Mr. Naicker, then that figure goes all the way to 7.5 million rand. And I stand to be corrected on the latest figures. So how is the SETA programs then designed to try and bridge that missing middle of the students that we know cannot necessarily access space at, of course, your conventional universities? We know the minister's just announced very good news. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Naicker, the Minister of Higher Education there, Dr. Nobuntu, they're saying that they have now taken a decision to actually give equal funding to students of both TVET colleges as well as universities, which is a great initiative. So I suppose it's also going to go into a lot of your programs there, Kataz.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's a fantastic initiative by the Minister there. The issue is twofold. I think the stats are staggering when it comes to unemployment. And what the SETAs are aimed at doing is that we want to drive employability, first of all, but also drive entrepreneurship. Absolutely. So we're able to drive both at the same time. I think that we can all agree that the bedrock of a growing economy is entrepreneurship. So we do have a vested interest in promoting that as well.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Look at these programs so that now you can own your business, you can be a future employer. The conventional route of, I need to go to varsity, then I need to find an employer, because you're going to be sitting at home unemployed for very, very long, looking at the current conditions and employment conditions in the country. We're going to be back after this. After that, don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Siphinde sikwamukele. My lines are wide open. Sikhuluma ke namhlanje ngendaba ebalekile ukuthi ugovernment uyazama ukuthi uzame ukubamba phela labantu abangakhona ukuthi bahambe baphume e-matric bahambe bayofunda evarsity bese befuna umsebenzi. Through izinto ezibizwa ama-SETA. Ama-SETA anama opportunities amaningi lapho uzotrainwa khona uthola ama skills ube nethuba elingcono ukuthi uthole ne-employment nokuthi nawe futhi ukwazi uqala eyakho ibusiness. My guest today, I am with PK Naicker as well as Khataza Khoza. Mbukeli bobabili bakhulumela ama-SETA ke uzwile ke uma ngabe wena mhlawumbe ufika manje sesishilo ukuthi awu 21, but specifically ama guest wami azoloke esithi fafa ngokuthi bona basebenzela maphi ama-SETA. Ungasithinta ke mbukeli e-studio 011-714-0671, alternatively 714-0672. All right, so PK, let's talk about the issue of the people that who actually qualifies for these SETA opportunities. I think that's a great question, particularly when we know what they are.
Actually, it's a very good question because in terms of the mandate, the National Skills Development Plan, there's a huge focus on the youth. That would be obviously learners that would be falling between the age group of 16 and 35. So that is where the focus would be in terms of the registration of learners on the various occupationally directed programs. We also focus on the workers. We are responsible for upskilling workers, with employers in their workplaces, and obviously their ages could vary from anything between 16 to 65 years. So we implement various interventions such as your well, we just mentioned the learnerships and the apprenticeships in the workplaces as well. So those would be the target group and that we would target in terms of the programs.
Kataza, maybe let's go back to what type of training programs do some of AmaSETAs actually offer so that young people can actually tap into those?
Yes, so there are learnerships, bursaries, internships as well. We have your apprenticeships programs, learnerships, I think I've mentioned that as well.
And these are obviously people post-matric, right?
Absolutely.
People that have completed their matric education, PK.
No, absolutely, because obviously they will fall within that age group of the youth. So these would be people that want to get involved in some kind of, occupationally directed program. It'll also be people that would be post-college or your university qualification that looking for work experience, internships, looking for work-integrated learning opportunities, like your TVET learners and your iEducation learners as well. So obviously there would be various types of learners that would be involved in our occupationally directed programs. That would come from various institutions. They could come post-matric or they could come postgraduate, qualifications.
So there is basically a SETA for everything. I know the president during his recently tabled SONA there, he was talking about the fact that there's going to be a new funding model that is going to specifically look at the issues of artisanal colleges as well as TVET colleges. So these are great initiatives, Kataza, because what we're doing, we're moving away from that type of education that is just basic moratorium syllabus education, but it's skills training, making sure that you stand a better chance to actually get employment post your formal learning age or period.
Absolutely. I think there's a drive to move away from the contemporary education
conventional
system, to be inclusive of people with different skills, different abilities, and different career trajectories. So I think we really welcome that initiative by the president, and the SETA really promotes that. If you look at the programs that we embark on and that we drive. So that's
Tell us more about your SETA, Kataza. Maybe let's backtrack a little bit because I did not ask about yours. I know I asked Mr. Naika about his. So take us through yours.
Yes, so we're actually from the same SETA.
Oh, okay, even better.
Yes, we are from the Fiber Processing and Manufacturing SETA, also known as FPNM SETA. We cater to 13 subsectors, so namely your forestry, printing, pulp and paper, packaging, forestry, textiles, clothing. So we have quite a vibrant sector that we look after.
Okay, and then, I mean, are SETA opportunities free or at a cost, Mr. Naika?
SETA opportunities are free. All programs are fully funded by the SETA, so it's no cost to the learner whatsoever. It's an opportunity for them, obviously, for learners to learn while they earn in workplaces. So it's pro bono, no cost whatsoever.
Okay, and then in terms of accessibility, Kataza, how accessible are they? Because, you know, like we were talking earlier on, it's certain people that know about these opportunities that will actually go and explore about these opportunities.
I think that we have identified the issue of people not understanding what the SETAs do and who we are, and we have made ourselves accessible to the people. So our outreaches have been in rural areas and in small communities as well, just to get the word out about what we do. So there has been an increased effort to be more accessible. I think that we have now become quite accessible to the people. We also understand that we serve the youth, and the youth are on social media. So we have made sure that we are visible on social media, that we are interactive on social media, and that we're really able to engage them in a way that's meaningful and in a way that's understandable to them. I think that we have cut out the unnecessary jargon, the unnecessary linguistics, and just said, okay, this is what we do, this is how we can serve you, and this is where we are, this is where you can find us. So we have really made a lot of efforts towards being more accessible.
And then, Mr. Naika, in terms of parents that are actually watching this or guardians of children that might now not have been accepted to university and they are just wondering, is my child now going to sit at home for the rest of the year? What can you advise them? What can they do specifically as parents, especially if the kids do not have, of course, access to the latest technology? I know we're always saying that everybody's got a smartphone in this country, but the reality is that we still have far-flung rural areas that do not have, that this show is actually their only source of information.
Yes. So I think it's important, you know, for parents to also change their mindsets. You know, previously, I mean, if you talk to my parents, they would say, okay, immediately after school, you need to go to
varsity.
You're going to university. You're going to a training college.
You need to have good grades, though.
Absolutely. And, yeah, you need to do academically quite well, you know, as well.
Because there's limited space.
I must say, you know, the country has a fantastic education system. Previously, we were used to what was known as the formal route to achieving a qualification. Now we have what is known as an informal route through workplaces. So learners, obviously, that do not qualify to go into universities or TVET colleges have an opportunity to access, you know, education and training qualifications that are registered on the NQF, that are nationally recognized, that are internationally benchmarked and recognized as well. So they have an opportunity now to access these qualifications via the workplaces. I mean, it's for the first time that they're able to do so. It's something that we were not accustomed to, that we were not used to.
But Mr. Naicker, why are we not encouraging this route? Because I know it's always here and there. And you were saying earlier on that your programs actually are co-aligned with the higher education department.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking you should have a rigorous campaign right alongside what the higher education department is actually putting out there in terms of these opportunities well before the new the new academic year actually begins. I mean, we saw issues now about issues of funding, children not being able to get access to university, all things that could have been sorted out if everybody got their marks before the previous year and you knew that I'm not even going to waste my time going to apply at university.
Yeah, see, what I would like to see is like a mindset change, because you know, many of us are caught up in what is known as traditional thinking with regard to education and training opportunities. So we need to have that mindset thinking. Obviously, parents are going to make a big, you know, issue if their child or children do not get placed in higher education institutions,
but
because they do not recognize.
Mr. Naicker, every parent knows what the capabilities of their kids are. So you should not necessarily be forcing children into a route, especially when they're not going to get hired after studying.
Absolutely. So therefore, if you look at the 21-seaters, I think the 21-seaters are doing a good job in terms of advocacy, in terms of marketing the mandate, in terms of, you know, providing access to SETA information. For example, we run...
Hold that example, Mr. Naicker, because I want to take a quick ad break before my director kills me. I'm going to take another quick ad break, and we're back shortly after that. Sakhuluma ngamasita. You're watching Ilungelo Lakho la Kumamba Phambili SABC 1 eMzansi for sure. 011-714-0671 or 011-0672. Those are the magic numbers ukuthi uxhumane nathi la e-studio usibuze imibuzo mayelana phela nalama opportunities babukeli esithi akhona through ama programs ekuthiwa ama-SETA. That is SETA. Okusho ukuthi ke wena uthola ama skills utrainwe lapho ukuthi phela ube in a better position ukuthi ukwazi ukusebenza ungafiki nje lapho uthi kodwa Nkosi yami mekuthiwa hamba okwenza umsebenzi, we taking you out on site usawufunda wena ukuthi theory ayithena ukazi ube exposed to ama proper working environments. Let's go to the lines. Ubonile all the way in George in the Western Cape. But Bonile, Nkosi, for joining us this afternoon. Singakunceda kanjani today, Dad?
Good afternoon to the studio.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can I speak isiXhosa?
Ungathatha isiXhosa but Bonile.
Okay, ngiyabulela. Igama lami ngibonile Mpumelelo apha eGeorge from Western Cape. I did a course from CAT-SETA, which means CAT-SETA dealer through nama culture, nama arts, nama hospitality. So I did journal skills. Then of course ibizwa ukuthi assistant chef. Yet so we finished it, but I got this certificate from 2024 January. Kodwa namanje asitholanga izetifiketi zethu. So leyo nto isenzela ukuthi kube nzima u-applya for umsebenzi makuphuma umsebenzi wobuchef.
Xa nibabuza bhuti Bonile bathini bona, bathi kutheni benganikezanga i-certification zenu?
Bathe academy bathi basalinde from uCatsita, so because iprofile yethu bonke yonke bayihambisa ukuyisa kuCatsita, so bona basalinde uCatsita aqede. So ilakho ngifuna ukwazi khona ukuthi yini ebambezele namanje izetifiketi zingaphumi.
Okay, but siyabulela kakhulu but Bonile out in George in the Western Cape. Mbukeli nawe if ungafuna ukuthi sikusize malana nodaba lethu la namhlanje ungasishayela inamba, we're going to try and address that situation. So basically he did a course with a 2-month course as well as a 2-month skills, yes, with CAFCIDA, but he says they never got certification, PK. So he says the academy said they are actually waiting for CAFCIDA, but this was like in January of 2022, and he says now they've lost out on employment opportunities because they cannot apply and without the proof that they actually qualified.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. What I would like to say is that there are isolated issues in terms of certification, etc., that many of the SETAs would experience, but these are just isolated. You know, it's not common. You would get a few, learners that complain that they have not received SETAs, or there was some delay in terms of them being certificated. But in this case, look, I do not belong to the SETA in which now he completed the program. I would not like to answer for the CAT SETA, but what I can do for him, if he leaves his contact details with the producer, then I will engage at a very high level to ensure that, that the problem gets addressed.
Absolutely.
That's the most that I would be able.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that, PK. Uyezwa ke Bhuti Bonile inamba zakho sinazo tata sizozipha Mr PK Naicker uthi akuyona isitha yakhe kodwa uzozama ukuthi axhumanise nabantu abazokwazi ukukusiza. All right. So you Mr Naicker, before we went on ad break, you're about to give me a very valuable point, or I think an example about some of the opportunities that we're talking about. Let's go back there.
So in terms of the various opportunities, SETAs go out aggressively. They do, lots of marketing campaigns, as alluded to by
I did one with the taxi drivers and HIV, and people were like, how? We didn't even know that this thing exists.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's one of the key transformation imperatives in terms of the mandate when we look at, addressing the issue of HIV and AIDS. But what I would like to say is that in terms of now, the campaigns and the advocacy, so we as SETAs, we are out there. That I think that's a point that needs to be made in terms of career events, in terms of brochures, in terms of our website.
So they just need to be proactive. The opportunities
the learners just need to be proactive and to approach you could approach the SETAs. Although SETAs do not register learners directly. Okay. What SETAs do is that, just to correct the perception, is that we provide funding. Okay, we provide funding to employers, accredited skills development providers,
to be able to roll out these necessary skills and training programs,
nationally recognized programs, qualifications, occupationally directed qualifications that would lead to employment. So that is what we do. We are a disbursement agency. We disburse funding. So, but that doesn't stop learners from contacting the SETAs. In trying to, we do have marketing divisions, marketing departments, and they could talk to learners. But what I would like to say, I've been a former educator myself.
I was about to say, when are you going to go to schools?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we do.
That is where the biggest challenge is, I think, in terms of the advocacy, is that we don't get schools, the teachers, the school management teams, the principals, we don't get enough of them making inquiries and bringing us into the schools.
That's an issue. Hold that thought, Mr. Naicker, because...
And that is quite... concerning, and I was quite concerned as a former educator that this is not happening quite seamlessly.
Absolutely.
This is what I would like to see happen, and I can assure lots of the issues about SETAs, the understanding of the work of SETAs, the role of the SETAs, can be resolved when we go directly into the school.
Exactly. Please hold that thought. I want to go back to the lines and take Lungelo Kagiso here in Gauteng. Lungelo, a very good afternoon to you. Sakwamukela ohlelweni ungasibuza umbuzo noma ubeka umbono namhlanje singakusiza kanjani baba? Sisi.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I hope you are good. My name is Lungelo. Afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, Lungelo. How are you?
Ngiyaphila njani?
Ngiyaphila sithando sami, ungaqhubeka bandla ngombuzo wakho, asikise ukukubambisa so long elayinini.
Akunankinga ma.
Go ahead.
Igama lami uLungelo Mkhwani, I'm from Kagiso, and I'm calling regarding to ask ukuthi I completed a learnership in 2019 until 2020, but I haven't received my certificate and emasibuza sitshela istory eyiningi. And then my other question is, what are the opportunities that CETA gives for persons with disabilities? Is there any chances ukuthi masiqeda ukwenza ama-learnership then we can be placed for permanent opportunities?
All right. And then, Lungelo, just before you go, you said you completed your learnership longa abangaka certify khona abangaknikeza certificate. When did you finish it?
I completed 2020.
Go 2020. Namanje, there's nothing, no updates about your certification.
Not even a complete letter or anything that shows that I have completed I have done my learnership or anything. When we ask, we are being taken pillar to post.
Okay. And then learnership obuyenza, are you able to tell us ukuthi bekwe yani sithando sami?
Benyenza business administration for persons with disability under EI10.
Okay. And yiphi lo sitha Lungelo mangabe ungasitshela?
I'm not sure, ma'am, because azange basicela bavele bathi wazani for learnership.
Okay. Yeah. How long the learnership program yen?
It was a 12-month program.
12-month program. My goodness. Siyabonga kakhulu Sisilungelo. You know what we'll do, as we are doing with amanye amaguests wethu sizopha amaguests wethu iy'number zakho, then they can try bazama ukuthi babone ukuthi bakusiza kanjani. Thank you so much for raising that very important question. So Khathaza, maybe let's start with you. I mean, very important there. Let's start with that. Maybe Mr. Naika will address the second part of the completed learnership back in 2020. But she says, I mean, for persons living with disability, what and how do they, through CETAs, to ensure that they get permanent employment after the skills training as well? And I think that is a very, very important question.
Absolutely. I love that question from Ulungelo. You know, as the CETAs, we do have a keen interest in people with disabilities, and I think Mr. Naika will then speak to the programs that we have. We have a keen interest in people with disabilities, not only affording them skills, but also allowing them to be employable and also connecting them with with opportunities to be employed and participate in the economy. So there are so many opportunities out there in all the CETAs across the 21 CETAs for people with disabilities. So they are definitely accommodated fully.
Mr. Naika?
Yeah. I'd just like to talk about the disability mandate. So in terms of the mandate, at least between 4 to 5% of the budget would be allocated to for training of disabled people. Okay. And there are various programs that we have in terms of the various occupational programs for people with disability.
Higher Education just announced, was it 10,000 or 100,000 that will benefit from a similar project as well?
No, absolutely. So we as a CETA, we run various training interventions, various programs in strategic partnership with disabled organizations, and we pay a little bit more as well in terms of the, for the funding for the various learners, because obviously due to their special need, they would require special equipment, maybe learning materials, that should be adapted, etc.
And ramps to access the workplace.
So what we do, we try to facilitate education and training in terms of addressing the disability mandate. So that happens then within the CETAs quite naturally as well. But in terms of addressing employability, obviously many of our programs are aligned aligned to what is known as also a top-up intervention that would require, that would be like an entrepreneurship intervention. Okay. And then we urge our workplaces to ensure that, in terms of employment equity as well, that they are employing people that are disabled. That is very critical. And I think even my CEO, Dr. Feleng Yende, she's quite passionate. She's been an ex-social worker herself, so she's quite passionate about ensuring that we are not training for employment when it comes to even the disabled, those that are living with disabilities, etc.
Absolutely.
So we drive we drive that mandate, and we ensure that there are positive outcomes and positive impact in terms of those interventions that we have.
Absolutely, Mr.
The
Naika.
various organizations that manages people living with disabilities.
I mean, I'm sure because you also don't want to train them and then they're sitting at home after giving them so much hope and then they cannot do anything. I suppose it adds to the stress. Bugeli, we're going to take another quick ad break. We're back shortly after this. We're back with Ilungelo Lakho, still with my guest this afternoon, Mr. PK Naika, alongside the lovely Khathaza Khoza, both from the FP and M-SETA. Sixoxa ngawo kaMasita Mbukeli sithi ilaba ke abanitrainayo banikeze ama-skills ukuthi nibe better prepared ukuthi phela nibe in line ukuthi nithole lo msebenzi. All right, let's go back to the lines. Sithathe uSiphindile all the way in Limpopo. Siphindile sakwamukela Ntokazi ohlelweni. Umbuzo noma umbono?
Umbuzo sithi
ungabuza Siphindile. Siyaphila njani Siphindile?
Siphilile.
Siyaphila, ungabuza.
Umbuzo wami ukuthi we are in the rural areas where most of the youth abana chance ya ukuthi bafumane this information esiyitholayo manje njengoba ngibukele the TV. They might not be looking at it, but most yabo abasebenzi. So I wanted to find out if uSETA can assist ukuthi maybe babizwe, maybe from the chief, babizwe from there is these different villages to a hall. Bese bayanikezwa le information ngibona ibalulekile kumzali.
Absolutely.
That will help them. And another thing, in our area, kuzoba ne-development ye-mall. So if they can train these youth, maybe ukuthi baba ama-sales ladies or ama-cashiers, so that now we figure this development, babe equipped ukuthi baqashwe nabo as the local.
Absolutely.
Is it possible?
Siyabonga kakhulu Siphindile. Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngiyabonga kakhulu Mamphindile. Yazi into engizoyenza also, just because when you've already identified probably abantwana in your area, I'm also going to hand over with your permission inamba zakho ukuthi bakwazi ukuthi osisikhathaza no Mr. Naika bakwazi ukuthinta. Siyabonga kakhulu Ntokazi ngokuthi you are actually taking initiative ukuthi uzame ukuthi usize your community. What did I say to you, Mr. Naika? I said most of our viewers, most of the people, some just have Ilungelo Lakho as a form and a means of getting any relevant information. She's asking, in rural areas, is it possible then for SETAs to collaborate with rural or tribal chiefs or leaders to try and bring these opportunities to the children that are there that do not have the necessary access to the information that we're talking about today?
No, absolutely. In fact, it's a very good question as well. One of the transformational imperatives of our mandate is to address rural development, rural communities, the township economies. So that's what the mandate and that's what the National Skills Development Plan strategy is all about. In fact, I know, like specifically in our SETA, we are already engaging with the various traditional leaders in Mpumalanga, in Limpopo province as well. So if rural communities can contact the SETAs and can engage through their traditional leaders as well, because they have influence, obviously.
Can schools also do that, Mr. Naika? Because we're complaining about schools not inviting you to come and talk to them.
Well, as I've indicated earlier on, I mean, that is where part of the problem lies. So when I get a perception like we don't know what SETAs are about, we don't understand the mandate of SETAs, and if everybody is now veering towards higher education and going and registering at higher education institutions, doing dead-end type qualifications, not leading to jobs, then you're going to have a high unemployment rate in this country. But we must address the problem also through the schools. And through the principals of those schools as well.
Absolutely.
So I think that would be part of our solution.
All right.
Yes, thank you, Alice. I think, Alicia, just to add to that, when it comes to rural development and our footprint there, I think one of our success stories in Limpopo, where Mampindile is from, is the Mahumani Skills Development Center, which is, it's been headed up by one of the chiefs in Limpopo, in the Limpopo Malamlele area. So to answer your question, absolutely, we do have those relationships, we do have those partnerships. Those are our key stakeholders. We need to then, we do reach out to our rural communities and our chiefs. So we are quite influential in that sense.
I like that, yes.
So while we're talking about rural development, what I would like to say, through the visionary leadership of our CEO, Dr. Feleng Yende, we managed to build the first post-school education and training institution, community skills development center in Richmond, in Delany.
Oh, okay.
They never had a post-school education and training institution there. Wow. So what we also did, we've established a smart center there, an innovation hub, a robotics hubs as well. So for the first time, the rural learners in the municipality of Richmond, they have access to 5IR type skills, like your coding, robotics, ICT, computer skills, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. For the first time. Now this is a deep rural area in KwaZulu-Natal. So we do take the mandate out to rural areas.
Okay, so it is the people.
It happens, it's a reality. Obviously we can't be all over the place all of the time, but when we get invited, like what the ma'am just said now, just over the telephone.
All right.
If you invite us to your communities, we will assist and we will support as well.
I'm sending invitations, but before that, let's take a quick ad break. Final segment. I know time flies when we are having such a great time and informative show. La studio with my guest, Mr. PK Naika, alongside the gorgeous Mrs. Kataza Khoza, both from the fiber processing as well as the manufacturing sector. Mbukele sixoxa namhlanje ukuthi la masita SETA anisiza kanjani ukuthi nikwazi ukuthi mhlambe niphume esikoleni mangaba ukwazi ukufunda e-university ubone ama opportunities akhona ukuthi uyothola ama skills while usebenza or uyibeke in a proper position ukuthi uzokwazi ukuthi usebenze. It's my final segment, so if ungakangifonela, if ungakangithinta, I might just allow one more caller ukuthi basithinte. So Mr. Naika, just before we went to ad break, in fact, Kataza, maybe also speak to this because I like the fact that you've got this community outreach and engagement program, particularly in the rural areas. So any concerned citizens, they do not need to go through their counselors. They can just contact you and say, listen, our skills, our youth do not have any youth centers. But I mean, talk to us about that and maybe some great examples, success stories of some of the projects that you've actually impacted or given to the people in some of these rural areas.
Absolutely, Alicia. I think, as we had mentioned, we've got a very keen focus on rural development and upskilling people in the rural areas. And I think part of our strategy has been to say, how do we become more accessible to people in the rural areas? How do we then go to the people? people, which is something that we've done through our marketing strategies. We have so many events that we would then carry out in rural areas. We'd have imbizos that we carry out in rural areas to say, come, let's talk about skills development. Let's talk about how we can help you to actually upskill yourself. So it is really a keen focus. It's something that we are very passionate about as an organization, and something that we are driving quite strongly as well.
Mr. Naika, the other issue here, I know you said it's isolated issues, but this issue of certification, because I suppose you will raise the issue when you go to a meeting with your stakeholders, that there are complaints that the necessary organizations are not then certifying the individuals to actually go and start applying for work access. But you did mention that some of these, is it apprentices or learnership, they actually vary in length, so therefore it might take a little while longer to be certified.
Yeah, well, due to duration of programs and due to evaluation processes, you've got to understand that we run what is known as nationally recognized qualifications that are registered on the National Qualifications Framework.
What is the amount of time after you've finished your apprenticeship or qualification, depending, of course, on what you were studying for or training for?
In terms of the turnaround times, I would assume that once a learner has completed the training within 3 to 4 months, that learner should be having a certificate. But I don't think so it's the norm where all learners don't have certificates or statement of results. I think these are quite, as I've mentioned earlier on, these could be quite isolated as well. But aggressive follow-ups need to be done, and the matter could be escalated. You could escalate to the senior manager in that CETA, or you could escalate to the CEO, Office of the CEO, or it can even be done via the Department of Higher Education and Training, CETA Directorate, that would address your issue for you. As I said, it's not a good thing to happen. Learners have worked hard in terms of obtaining these qualifications, and they need this qualification to source employment.
Absolutely.
And and other learning opportunities as well. But they need to address it, and they need to do follow-ups. If they're having issues, my advice for them is to escalate the matter.
All right, very quickly, Kataza, where can they check out these new initiatives and programs that the CETAs are launching to support learners and industry?
Absolutely. So I think the first point of departure would be which CETA caters to what you want to study towards. So which sector would you then fall under? But just for ease of reference, I think that they could contact us through our website, which is www.fpmceta.org.za, where you would get a wide array of information around how the CETA space works and the various opportunities that we have for the youth.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a great show. You have 1 second.
Thank you very much. But what I would like to say to our learners is that they've got to look at these emerging and future skills, because that would give them competitive advantage. Like, for example,
coding.
Yeah, absolutely.
AI.
You've got to look at your skills with the digital economy.
Yes.
You've got to look at what is known as
agriculture.
You've got to look at agriculture. You've got to look at JET, just energy transition, in terms of solar, the wind power. You've got to look at rural development, disability,
there's issues of climate change. So this is something that I could also look into. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time.
Those are some of the skills that you need to look at. Thank you very much. If you want to be competitive and get employment.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Bogele, I suppose we are born the level of willingness from AmaCETA to ensure that they try and obtain labantu abangakwazi ukuthi baye ema-varsity bayostudisha through the conventional route yokufunda e-varsity banzame banikeze ama-skills in training. You can also nawe ukwazi uqala eyakho i-business. So go on that website, sibuzeni imbuzo lapho on our Facebook page, sizonithumelela iy'namba zama-guest wethu nokuthi ke mangabe nifuna leyo information, you can catch it on the repeat. From Yakajali Ntokazi, nisale kahle.